Hello, good morning. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad to present about my two favorite things in tech, artificial intelligence and web platform. Of course, I have only 20 minutes, so do not expect like a full guide on how to get started up to advanced technologies. But what I promise you, if you're a developer or web developer, after this session tonight, you can go and add AI-infused feature into your web front-end application. If you're not a developer and don't have any plans to build software, still, please bear with me, because you will learn what kind of user experiences we could get on the web and what we can actually demand as customers of these kind of services. I'm Maxim Salnikov. I'm based in Oslo, Norway, where I work at Microsoft, where I help developers to adopt our AI-native developer tools. So basically, it's about GitHub, GitHub Copilot, and other amazing tools that speed up the work. I'm a huge fan of the developer communities. I'm a huge fan of artificial intelligence. And yeah, for this intro picture, I've chose the one where I try to mix a couple of tracks generated by AI. So I'm that kind of hobby-level DJ. I AI generate music and try to mix this. But what's more important for this context is I'm a proud member of Web Machine Learning Community Group of World Wide Web Consortium. And this is the place where we do our best to make sure that machine learning and artificial intelligence are first-class citizens in web. And by the way, disclaimer, when today I say about web in 99% of the cases, I mean in-browser experience, right? After all, how we normally consume web via the browser. So what's available in the browsers, available on the web. A couple of prerequisites. We love use web. And I don't know how much time you folks spend in the browser during your workday or just leisure day, but I keep this always open. We love using AI. Very conservative estimation, well over 1 billion people on our planet are actively using artificial intelligence daily. We have or will have soon more and more AI-capable devices, right? So, I mean, hardware is evolving in a very, very fast pace. We want performance, we want privacy, and we don't want to depend on network connection when we consume AI-related services. And of course, we always prefer that it's free, right? Because we kind of invested into the device itself, mobile device or some AI-powered laptop or desktop, and why do we ever need to spend tokens on some third-party service if our device is capable enough to run these workloads right on the edge? A bit like from developer perspective, if we put developer hat on, we always prefer to have unified code base, or at least somehow close to this, right? Write once, run everywhere. I mean, it's not exactly how that works on web platform, but I believe at the same time, web is the closest big platform where you can achieve experience like that. And also as developers, we want to have some handy abstractions that are our comfort zone, right? So we don't want to be like data scientists just to inject some simple AI-infused feature. So in a nutshell, we want, both as people, builders, developers, everyone, we want to have some tools, some possibilities to run artificial intelligence workloads straight in our browser. And if that's standardized, that's even better. And you know what? This standard is in place called Web Neural Network API. This will be our main exploration topic for today, that provides near-native execution. And near-native, of course, there is some overhead when you move your platform-level API services to web platform, but I believe it's around 80 to 90% of what you can get from like running absolutely machine-specific, platform-specific code. It supports all needed hardware to run these workloads. That's super important, and we'll say a few words on that shortly. It's standard, after all, and it's super important, right? The role of web standard is just to make sure that there is a better chance that this web API is available in your favorite up-to-date browser, right? That's the goal of the standard. It knows nothing about the model, right? And it's for good and for bad. Less flexibility, but a bit more things to care about. And super important that this standard is compatible with existing frameworks. And I really love that it started not just, hey, folks, let's invent one more standard for web, one more web API, because we don't have enough of them. No, it was started like real use cases. And these use cases, they're not like maybe fancy ones, what we have today with generative AI. They are absolutely like real life scenarios you might want to have injected as a part of your web application, right? And of course, like generative AI is also in the place here, but not only, so it's much broader. Talking about web and then is a part of ecosystem. It's always kind of layered approach, starting from hardware level to native frameworks, libraries that are platform-specific, operating system-specific, up to web engines, both for server-side and web browser side. That's important for our story. Web APIs go on top of web engines, and higher-level frameworks, that's super important component here, and use cases on top of everything, right? So it's intentional. This specification was created very intentionally. A bit about hardware. CPU, well, it's everywhere, right? And in many cases, we can think about this one as a fallback scenario. Not big chance to parallelize our workloads. That is super important for all kinds of AI workloads. Maybe not that performant, right? It can multiply matrices, but not at the level like GPU can. And graphic processing unit, it's all about throughput. At the same time, in the name GPU, graphics processing unit, is there AI anywhere? Is there neural networks anywhere? No, folks, it was invented to speed up our graphics, right? But just historically turned out that it's perfect in matrices multiplication that is bread and butter of today's AI inferencing and all kinds of training. So this is why like it's like on hype these days. But it's not the only device, and not specifically invented for AI, but NPU was neural processing unit. It's often it's not a separate chip, but part of your like overall chip that is specifically designed and created to run neural networks workloads. And maybe it's not about throughput, not obligatory about throughput, but for example, energy efficiency. You don't want to drain your battery on your mobile device by just running, I don't know, some, let's say, AI workload in the background, and NPU is all about that. For the users, back to my first slide with prerequisites. Low latency, we don't spend time on any kind of network requests, right? It all happens straight on our device. Privacy, we can turn off Wi-Fi, cellular, whatever, and make sure that no byte of information go out of our device. High availability, we don't depend on any kind of third-party service, and these outages, they happen, and it's not something exotic. And low cost, maybe like no cost, right? Again, we invested in the hardware, and we can run lots of cool AI things right here, right there. For the developers, WebNN is access to the latest hardware innovations, like NPU, right? Because there is kind of neighbor API that's called Web GPU that may be a mainstream API for today's web front-end developers to use AI on the device, but again, as name says, it's only about GPU devices, right? It's kind of not really future-proof. It's like locked what we have now related to graphics devices, not neural processing units. You directly connected to operating system level services, right? And as a backend of this format. And as a front-end of this specification, you connected to existing high-level JavaScript frameworks. So how to start? Quick prerequisites. First of all, it's recommended, but not obligatory today to stay on the latest version of the browser. Not just latest version, but developer versions of the browser, like canary ones. Then you have two choices. Either enable this feature by flag, maybe it's good for development, or if you're ready to try this standard for broader audience, you can just go and register this as origin trial. But this is like normal way how web AI standards come into life, right? Flag first, then origin trial, and then ship, or not ship, who knows? a bit more dense you need to enable NPU usage if you have this on your device, or you plan that your users, your customers have this. And it's becoming mainstream, having NPU. It's maybe not in 100% of, let's say, laptops on the market, but definitely it's getting there. So you have all the prerequisites, you want to start coding, right? And I promised you, remember, that you will be able to add interesting AI feature just tonight. You open WebNN specification, and you suddenly realize it's extremely high level. Oh, sorry. It's extremely low level. It's called web neural networks. So there is no generative AI in the name. There is no AI in the name. There is no even like machine learning in the name. It's lowest level format you can use to literally create execution graphs, operands, context. If you are not that familiar with these terms, like myself, I'm not a data scientist, you still can actively use benefits of WebNN. But which way? What if we change from technical capabilities of this standard, all this low-level stuff, to tasks? This is how we started, and this is how WebNN started. Just imagine, very practical task, sentiment analysis. And to be honest, I don't understand why it's not a part of every single blog platform, forum platform, where super simple for, super good helper for moderation, right? It's not must-have, but nice to have. Sentiment analysis, just to understand, like, is it like good intention, bad intention, what was like the feeling about something posted? So what if we have this task? And what if we just run this as a pipeline? Just 3 lines of the code, and that's possible. If you put attention to first line, it's a library or framework, you name it, called transformers. And we are in the web world, so we use specific part of that called transformers.js, right? What's that all about? High-level JavaScript-based library that's capable to run lots of tasks in natural language processing, vision, audio, and all together. So it's multimodal ready, runs everything in the browser, so it's web front-end framework, and that's important. Among other backends, it can use WebNN, web neural network. So basically, you don't need to know too much about WebNN at this low level. You just use this via transformers.js. On top of that, you get huge catalog of ready-to-go, specifically trained models that's capable to solve, I believe, majority of the use cases scenario you can ever have in mind. And yeah, I forgot to say that Transformers.js is now part of Hugging Face company. It's, if you didn't hear about Hugging Face, it's kind of GitHub for machine learning models, right? So this is a place where community share trained, fine-tuned models, and you can download them, you can use them. So you have immediate access to this huge catalog. You can serve your own model if you wish. I mean, in many cases, that's absolutely a valid scenario where you can like download some kind of basic one and fine-tune this on your own data to make sure that it solves exactly your use case, not just a generic one. And of course, so I mentioned a couple of times downloading, right? So, and there is no magic. So browsers still need to have the model itself, and the model is basically in the center of majority of tasks we can achieve with AI today. So some models can be like dozens of megabytes. Some models could be a couple of gigabytes. Nothing that scares you as web consumer, for example, on wired connection in the office, right? So not a big deal. And once downloaded, it's cached in your browser, so it's just a one-time operation. And of course, you have full clarity. I mean, before running this workload, before downloading the model, my best advice, my kind ask to you folks, developers, please make your users aware that now we need to download something so they know what happens, for example, if they're on a metered connection. So yeah, the caching itself is similar. So it just uses old gold cache storage API that's available in all modern browsers, and model just lives there. Talking about use cases, plenty of them. Text, vision, audio, and who knows what comes next, all kind of multimodal extravaganzas. Summary about web neural network, about transformers.js, about AI in the browser. Web standard that runs artificial intelligence as an engine of that machine learning and as an engine of that neural network tasks is available in the browser natively. So you don't need to install any plugin, extension, special software. No, that's the whole idea of the web standards after all, right? Even though it's still draft specification, but if you know folks how web standards work, particular standard that is broadly adopted by key browser players can be in draft mode for years. Doesn't mean that it somehow blocks you in usage that. And WebNN specifically is today the only way to leverage all hardware, right, including NPU. Even though if you go and check transformers.js, many references are, hey folks, we are like super powerful to use web GPU, and that works. That's again mainstream for today. It's not that future-proof like WebNN, I'd say. But again, in transformers.js, choosing API you want to use for solving this task is just a level of configuration in the file. It's as easy as that. As draft specification, there still could be some moving parts, right? It's a draft after all. And actually, you can prefer what kind of abstraction level you choose as a developer. If you want to put your hands dirty in execution graph and context and operands, just use WebNN directly. If you prefer to have task-based experience, it's transformers.js. And of course, fallback mechanisms are very good to have, right? Both for hardware layer and all available tasks. But user experience first, right? Keep people informed about you are going to download something, right? And of course, think about offline readiness, not only the model itself, because this caching is seamless, right? But also application. And here it comes my next favorite topic in the web, progressive web applications. I mean, it's just a commodity today, right? To have offline-ready web front-end applications. That's everything what I wanted to say about web neural network and transformers, but I promised that this was ultimate guide, right? And my story will not be really complete if I skip another available opportunity for everyone to achieve, to some extent, the same usage of some artificial intelligence tasks straight in the browser, in the browsers of your users, of your customers, clients, in your personal browser, of course, like on the edge, right? And today, two browser vendors, Microsoft and Google, ship what's called built-in AI. Idea is more or less the same, right? The model is in place, limited set, predefined set of APIs, of tasks, like summarizer, language detector, more general, just prompt. Same, like couple of lines of JavaScript code, idea to how to consume that, but it's not a part of W3C standard, at least now. Let's see where that goes. I mean, there are submissions from respective work groups and community groups, and even kind of draft of this specification is hosted on respective GitHub repositories. Not a part of the standard, not on the, let's say, regular standard track. At the same time, like there are many interesting things in web related to standardization. It's marked as shipped, at least in Google Chrome, right? So you can use this like without origin trial, without flag, so it's shipped. In Microsoft Edge, it's on origin trial, so even though it's not a part of standard, it's a couple of steps ahead in reality in the browser. But again, it's just how web standards work. There is no option for you to choose model, right? So there is one predefined model, or maybe slightly specialized models for different tasks, supplied by the browser vendors. So for Microsoft Edge, this is Phi 4, small language model. For Google Chrome, if I remember correctly, it's Gemini Nano, small language model, so there is no way for you to somehow fine-tune this or choose this. And of course, yeah, it's task-based APIs initially. So the choice is yours. So if I need to build some AI-infused feature in my web front-end application today, maybe I could rely on that for some micro improvements. possible, but for my core features, I'd prefer using Transformers.js with WebNN as a backend. Now, my main call to action for everyone. Let's stay connected. So this is our first meeting, right? But let's make sure it's not the last one. Just take out your mobile phone, scan this QR code. It's just my LinkedIn profile, my favorite place to engage with everyone. And I post 99.9% about artificial intelligence, about specifically what it brings for the developers, like all things that are moving AI native development forward. And of course, feel free to ask me for that slide deck. Thank you so much.